Welcome back to 7,000 Volts, Living an Electrified Life. Today's topic is overcoming challenges in adversity. And our special guest today is Dawn Smith Walsh. Thank you for coming back to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you, LJ. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate the time.
Well, we ran out of time last time. It was very good. What you had to say was very impactful. And just your experience and expertise is like, if you need a plumber, you call a plumber. Mm-hmm. If you need an electrician, you call an electrician. But for somebody in the medical field that deals with mental health, I believe you're the perfect choice to have on the show.
Thank you so very much for your accolades and for your trust and confidence. That's how I lead every conversation with new patients, and that's how I end the conversation, is thanking them for their trust and their confidence. Because, as you know, we met over 13 years ago, I think, and as a labor and delivery nurse, I have been blessed to be in some very private spaces, right? A woman about to give birth doesn't get more vulnerable than that. Yes. And now I'm back in another sacred space in someone's heart and mind. And so I don't take it lightly. I don't take it for granted. So again, thank you for allowing me on your platform. Thank you for allowing me to reach your people. And let's get into it.
Yes. Now that you answer that question, I want my listeners and the viewers that's trying to gain knowledge, and so they clearly understand that since you can't just snap your fingers and once you made it, you got that nice house and car, you mean you don't get to sit at home and chill all day?
No chilling.
So you hear that, people? There's no chilling. So my question is, how do you stay motivated and focused to continue so you don't lose that stamina, that drive to continue doing what you do day in and day out at a high level as a professional? Mm-hmm. Share some light on that for us.
Yeah, I won't lie. There's times where you kind of digress and you're like, is this what you said, do, Jesus? Really, I'm so tired or weary, or, the obstacles can seem so great, but you just remember what it is that you set out for yourself, and you stay true to who you are and what you want to do. So what helps drive me is sitting down, even if it's once a month, and going back to my notebook and saying, okay, what were the goals that I set for myself? And having those quiet moments where you can meditate and listen to your inner knower and hear from God or your higher self or the universe, whatever label you wish to put on that higher entity. I think that that's an irreplaceable facet of my life that keeps me grounded, that keeps me hungry, that keeps me focused. So I set goals. I believe in just connecting with peers and see what they're doing, as iron sharpens iron, as they say. So if you have that stagnant moment in your life, which sometimes it will happen, you just say, okay, I took a pause, I took a breather, and now you get back up and you grind for another day. And there's that adage, right? Oh, you see my glory, you don't know my story. And I think that's the downfall for many people, is that they just see you now. They don't see those mean and lean years where the lights might have been turned off, or you were borrowing food stamps, or you went to the food pantry, or you had to borrow money or get a payday loan at 500%. There are just so many stories I hear from people that persevered and they pushed through, and people think that they just arrived, and they didn't just arrive. There's many decades behind their success.
It's interesting that she say that, and I'm gonna look into the camera because it sounds like part of her response was Habakkuk 2:2, one of my favorite scriptures. I like the quote here on the show is, write the vision down, make it plain.
Yes.
And the reason why you should write it down and make it plain, because you can go back to it when you need to see what your purpose and your goal is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I did a show on intent. What is your intent? Like, if you don't have intent which way you're going, how do you know where you're going? The vision is not written down. You can't just, if you can't jump in the car and just drive. You have to have a destination in mind, or you have to put a destination in the GPS and the GPS will tell you where to go and how to go. Make right, turn here. Quarter mile, make a right. You know, it's funny if those GPSs can get animated and be like, "You're going the wrong way, dummy. I told you to make it right." You know, it's funny. I don't know if you ever saw this movie. It's called The Adjustment Bureau. You ever saw that movie?
No.
I love that movie. You got to watch this movie. If anybody, if you've seen it, it's called The Adjustment Bureau. It's a movie about that they predict people's lives and they put them on course. It's almost like a GPS.
Okay.
They say, go left, go right, and they'll recalculate. I'm not going to tell you the whole movie. So this one couple that wanted to be together, but this machine didn't want them to be together. So they always steered them in different directions. And that's all I'm going to give you. But this movie it was so impactful because it's just so many jewels and gems and nuggets that you can learn. And that's how life is sometimes. It tries to recalculate like a GPS and put you back on track when you get so far off. And it's like, I can imagine the angels and God, when he sent his level of protection around you. And when you're off course, and you be like, and you don't even, you're oblivious to the stuff that's going on. You're like, man, why I turn down this road today? And I have another question, but I'm going to say this little story. I remember when I first started my business years ago, and I was a door knocker. I would go knock on these doors, and people would say, no, no, no. And I would be like, all right, I'm driving. And my car was like, all right, now, Lord, you know the light bit. I'm going to be sitting in the dark tomorrow. What's going on? And then it's like I ask for the help. Sometimes that's all you do is ask. And then it's like the GPS take over. And I'm like, turn right, turn left. And then I turn down the road, there's a tree or something on the ground. Hey, can I? Absolutely. We was praying to ask how we was going to get rid of this tree or get this trimmed and whatnot. It's like he got me where I needed to be at.
And that's the magic of life sometimes. Like people don't always trust that intuition will guide them. And that it could be that simple, LJ. Just say, you know what, I'm asking for help. But just as importantly, being receptive and being ready to act. You know, I firmly believe in the depths of my being that prayers are answered. People don't believe that prayers are answered because it didn't look the way they wanted the prayer to look or the answer to look. It didn't come from the source that they were hoping for. It wasn't the timing they were thinking about, but prayers are answered. And what is a prayer? That has nothing to do with religion necessarily. A prayer could just be a deep-seated desire. And as long as that desire benefits not only you, but other people, and if it can benefit mankind, well, then absolutely, that is a high-level prayer, and absolutely, the heavens will make it come to pass. So believe in your prayers, pray, believe in something. And you can speak to an agnostic or an atheist. They believe in something. Even if they believe in the power of their own wit and might and strength, they believe. So let's just transition and transmutate that belief so that it can work for you.
That brings me to Matthew 7:7. That's one of I have so many favorite scriptures, but another one of my favorite scriptures, again, is Matthew 7:7. Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find. For he that asketh, receiveth, and he that seeks, findeth. It is so simple, and sometimes we complicate it, more complicated than it actually is or it has to be. It's like people can always find the negative in things. They'll, and this is why I don't get political on this podcast, and I don't talk about, I can care less who gets elected as president or senator in the grand spectrum of things. But the reality is, as a true believer in what the power of prayer can do, is whoever holds that office, I pray that God gives them the strength to make the right decisions that needs to be made. And that's all we can do. It's easy to sit back at Monday morning quarterback and call another human, oh, he's this or he's that. But the reality is, it's just another human that needs that prayer. It does a human that needs us as a people in this world to pray for one another because we're human.
Yeah. You know, when we see people, whether they're in politics or in leadership, there's a certain amount of grace that's over their life and a certain pedigree that they may not flaunt in front of us, but they come knowing what they have to do, and they do it with a certain level of ease, so to speak. And not until the adage, you walk a mile in a man's moccasins, do you really understand like the challenges that they face. So, you know, don't be jealous of anybody, don't judge anybody. You don't know what their journey is like, and you don't know the decisions that they have to make. You know, I tell people that we all have our public face and our very private moments. And you don't see if people are, you know, screaming and crying into a pillow. You don't know if they're, you know, contemplating suicide or contemplating quitting or leaving their family. I mean, people are hurting out here. And that's another reason why I enjoy doing what I do, is to get another human to see the light, not suffer, and try to, you know, realize that there is fullness of joy, and we can have a certain amount of enjoyment in this journey.
Yes. So I'm just curious of how do you balance your work and family? Because I know you have children and you're married. So how do you balance between the two? Because as a business owner, sometimes it's just like it runs together, and this is what ruins and breaks families up, is when we don't find that balance. And some people believe, oh, I have to sacrifice this and that, and I'm just a person that disagrees. Like, there is sacrifice that's involved, but when it comes to my family, I have to find a balance. How do you find your balance?
Ooh, well, that is a work in progress. I think it will always and should always be a work in progress, that you are mindful and cognizant that your family should always come first. And just as I would want my patients to put their families first and prioritize themselves as number one to be well, I try to model that behavior. So when patients come and they ask questions, it's important that I'm able to be authentic and transparent. So I can't say to somebody, oh, you need to put yourself first, and I'm not putting myself first. So how do I find that balance? It's by remaining authentic and being true and honest. It's by telling my family, yeah, you are a priority. It's by pulling out the date book or my cell phone and putting in all those dates beforehand, and then building my schedule around that. So it took some art, and again, I still try to refine it week by week, but finding the time and taking the time to build in those family moments is what it takes.
And I agree with you 1,000%. It's not exact science. It's like finding that balance. Okay, because I can't make it to all the practices, and I try to make it to all the games that the kids are involved in, and sometimes it's just not practical. But I make sure I let them know. I say, listen, I'm only going to be able to see part of your game this week, and it's times that I'll miss Michael's game because I'm at David's game. It's time I'm going to miss David's games because I'm at Michael's game, because they're running at the same time. And so the reality is you have to balance. You're like, okay, I missed David's game last week, so I'm going to do David's game this week, and you do Michael's game. So we, as a husband, we work together as a team with my wife, so we can find that equal balance. And it's not always a walk in the park, but we never stop fighting for it. We continue to move forward for it, and that's the trick. Some people, I try to teach and educate through my walks and say, it's okay. If you feel you didn't get it right today, let's try to get it right tomorrow. And that's just the basics. Like, if you don't get it, like, hey, listen, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You learn from it. What can you do better so you can get it tomorrow? And that's what life is. We're gonna learn from those mistakes. So if you don't make mistakes, who are you? Right. There's no growth. If God made us perfect, then He wouldn't. What would we need Him for?
Right.
So we're going to have those challenges.
And like you said, it's like that GPS. It's never too late to do a U-turn. It's never too late to self-correct. It's the prideful man or woman that is headed for trouble. And, it says that in Scripture, right? Pride precedes a fall, right? So
pride comes right before destruction.
Yeah. So just admit, hey, I faltered. I came short. I fell short, and try to figure out how to autocorrect. And in some religions, the word sin actually means just falling short, not hitting the mark. So as we say in the Christian faith, we're all sinners, right? Because we've all missed the mark at some point in time. And so we just figure it out and get back on that horse and finish the journey.
Last time you was on the show, you mentioned one of my favorite books, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Can you share some podcasts that you may listen to and other books for the audience and for the listeners and watchers of the show? Like, what are some of the other books that you can share that you read that has had an impact and influence who you are and what you do?
As I said, I love the old sages. Why? Because not everybody wants to embrace, mental health or, oh, I've got to take psych meds. And so if I can find something that predates modern day psychiatry and modern day psychology, I think that might be more palatable for folks. So I like Joseph Murphy because his platform is basically what you think about, you become. And I like Émile Coué. He's a self-taught French psychologist, and his platform was, you can be healthy and you can attain your desires if you, number one, as you had already mentioned, write it down, form an image. What is it that you want? And a lot of people really don't know what it is that they want. They want what their parents told them that they want. They want what they think is popular. They want what they see in social media. They want what their neighbors have. And so that's one of the cardinal sins, right? Don't covet what another person has. Everybody is a divine being, and everybody deserves life, they deserve liberty, and they have within them a special talent. I don't care if that talent is waxing a floor. I don't have the talent to wax a floor, and I like a really nice floor that's buffed and polished and is presentable. So whatever your gift, whatever your calling is, be true to that. And that's what some of those old sages really bring home in very easy to do steps. Steps such as get clear on what you want, write it down, go within yourself, meditate. When you're going to bed at night, most people that suffer from anxiety and insomnia, they think about all the troubles and they replay the day where everything went wrong. And then they imagine what's going to go wrong tomorrow, what's going to not go right the next week and thereafter. Let's pull it back. As we're laying down, let's just think, how would I like my life to be? And the adage, fake it till you make it, I love it. I love kids because they are great at make-believe. So sometimes that's what we've got to do. We've got to make believe. We've got to fake it till we make it. And the best time to do that when your soul is the most receptive is when you're going to sleep. So as you're falling asleep, just imagine, oh, I am, as I said before, I am, and fill in the blank. I am that bank teller. I am that medical assistant. I am that tree provider, that certified arborist, the I am, and fall asleep in that feeling, and then just trust and just go through life paying attention to the prayers because the answers come, and then just life can be a journey, can be exciting.
It's interesting you say that because I like some of the older books like Dr. Wayne Dyer. I'm sure they heard me talk about him on the show. One of his first books, Erroneous Cells. Have you ever read that book?
No, I don't read that one.
His material is so rich, and another one, Napoleon Hill. Not Napoleon Hill, I said that. He's one of my favorite ones as well too. But Earl Nightingale.
Oh yes, and Dale Carnegie, the olds, yes.
Yeah, they and so it's funny. I got a conversation. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I don't talk about problems. I believe in you are what you think about and you talk about. So I'm not one of those people, if I get a medical diagnosis or I had a bad day, just because my day was bad, I have no reason to talk about it. And some people are opposite. They want to drop the load on you. And then like when Dr. Wayne Dyer said, listen, I'm not a garbage can. Talk to my shirt. But he taught in learning yourself how you compartmentalize when somebody says something to you that you don't like. He's like, that was for you, and I'm going to take this shirt off and put it in the dirty laundry bin and wash it. And so some people, they like to talk about it for various reasons, where they want the attention or simply they just putting their problems on you. And so I don't talk about some people like, well, I don't believe that. I feel like you can touch, hey, listen, all things are possible for those who believe. I believe that it has no place, now if I'm talking to my wife or something, we going over that's different. But if I'm talking to a close friend, I'm still very cautious of what I talk about. I don't want to project my problems, because you talk about it, it becomes unconsciously. You just start talking about your problems, and what talking about problems creates what? More problems.
Right.
And so, and this is why me personally, I stay away from it. I don't have a fake intro when I talk to people. Like some people, they respond to you the same way every single time. There's like the hide, but like I try to stay authentic as possible. It's like a basic conversation. Say, how you doing today? You know what? I'm better than I was yesterday. Or how you doing today? Life through its fair share of challenges, but also we would overcome. Like it just. I've had some challenging weeks. I'm not coming on the show and say, man, y'all ain't gonna believe what done happened to me. That's not what you tuning in. Like, man, we ain't have to listen to him. Right? We had no problems.
We have our own
own
issues, right?
And so, but the reality is, I don't let the problems stay on me. I don't let problems define me. I don't let them set me back even farther. And that's what problems can do. See, I had to graduate from that. See, 10, 15, 20 years ago, my problems seemed to escalate and continue. Those same problems seemed to define me because I didn't graduate from it, because I like to talk about them. I just like to continue to escalate it, and didn't even realize I kept planting the same seeds.
But people don't realize that.
Yeah.
It's like either you're problem-focused or you're solution-focused.
Yeah.
And our subconscious mind drives our life. Your subconscious mind is making your heart beat. It's making your digestion work. It's making all those fine adjustments in your pupils so that you can take in more light. They'll dilate, take in less light, they constrict. I mean, you don't control that. And it's that same subconscious mind that's playing in the background as to why people get rich and some people stay poor, some people are successful, some people are destitute. It's their thought process, and it's that record that's playing in the background. And what is their default thinking? Your default thinking is either positive and uplifting and triumphant, or your default thinking is woe is me, hot damn, here we go again. So it's like, change the record.
It's interesting that you say that, because the subconscious mind doesn't care what you put in it.
Right. It's just like, okay, yes,
it's
ma'am.
Gonna produce.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna whatever you put in there. It's just like I can't think of this gentleman's name, but he said this one day on his podcast, and I'll never forget it. He goes, he's like, whatever you put in that subconscious mind. He did an illustration of, well, I want to go to Paris next year. I hope I can go. He said, you just told 10,000 cells to make sure that you don't go, because the way and how you said it. But if you change that and say, I'm going to Paris next year, you got those 10,000 cells working to make sure you get there. So it's going to work for you, good, bad, or indifferent. It doesn't care what you put in there.
Right.
It's going to work.
And it was Henry Ford that said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. If you think you can't do it, you're absolutely right. No one can convince you differently. You won't do it. You won't be successful. But if you think you can, heaven and earth will move itself on its axis to make it so that your dream comes to pass. Like, how did I launch my practice, you asked? In the midst of a pandemic, when things were closed down, when people were self-isolating, when things were not moving and the whole world came to a screeching halt, there was a birth for me, and that was my practice. So it doesn't matter the circumstance in the world. It doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't matter if it's day, night, black, white, does not matter. What matters is your thought, your earnest desire, and then you just see how the magic happens and be ready to act. So many people just stay stuck and they delay. And I know it's in Napoleon Hill's book. I think it was Napoleon Hill and I think it was Henry Ford. He was being interviewed by someone to find what makes all these, world moguls as rich as they are. How did they get to their positions of power?
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah,
and that's what makes that book so.
Right.
That's what made that book so powerful, because it took him over 20 years of research.
Right.
And that's what makes my book that you guys should purchase, is because it's over 20 years of my life experience. I'm not just putting something together to try to make a few bucks. It's not about making money at all. It's about sharing my story to inspire. Jim Collins, From Good to Great, over 20 years of research. And what you just were saying earlier, the birth was born from the pandemic. That's Ecclesiastes 3. There's a time and place for everything. Prosperity comes after destruction, after things happen. Like, there's a balance that just helps us navigate through this thing that we call life.
Absolutely.
And in order to, man, we don't ran out of time again. It's like
it's always so good.
Yeah, so we definitely want to have you back on. You're very inspiring. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate what you do for the world, for the country, in the mental health field, because there's not enough laborers. What the Bible said, the laborers are few.
And the fields are plenty.
Yes, and so when the fields are plenty and somebody twists and have the audacity to say, I can't find work, it's God has to give me the words to say, because I don't like to dismiss people, but I learned how to just walk on, because I've graduated from trying to convince somebody to do something that they already made up in their mind that they don't want to do.
That part.
And so again, my guest, Dawn Smith Walsh, what she do is so very important. If you or a loved one, especially in this Tampa Bay area, I don't know if she's worldwide yet and taking on patients from other states as of now, but this information will be on the screen for you to reach out, because it's hard to find mental health help in the beginning, but when you can find a good one, that's even better. So don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe her. You can call her at this number or go to her website that'll be on the screen below. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. For more information, you can visit us on ljtucker.com. Have a great day. Enjoy your week.